Hey folks, welcome to my channel TradeMate. It's Anup Kokni. Here in this channel, we would discuss about the Indian stock market indices, Nifty, Banknifty, and Finnifty. We would speak about the technical analysis of this based upon the price action, and also we would speak about the options data, uh, analyzing in how the option writing has happened onto each one of these instruments, and what is our presumption or point of view for tomorrow based upon the analysis that we do both technically as well as looking at the options contract. So let's get started with Nifty 50. So what I typically do is I look at the daily candles and get a fair amount of understanding in terms of what has been the price action on the previous day. Now, if you look at the candle, there has been a lot of bullish buyers. The buyers have been strong on Friday. When the market opened gap down, it has been significantly pushed up from the support and it has been taken upwards. Though Nifty doesn't look very positive as Bank Nifty and Fin Nifty, but still there is a lot of bullish momentum I see. And the all time high stands somewhere at 18,400 levels. So I believe Nifty could see 18,400 level uh, for Monday before either heading forward towards 18,500 or coming below to the previous low of 18,200. So it's very likely that Nifty would trade between 18,200 and 18,400 on Monday, looking at the technical analysis of the daily chart. It's definitely very bullish. If you look at both the 20 EMA as well as the 200 EMA on the chart, both of them look very positive. Uh, but since we are speaking about the intraday, I would keep myself limited to smaller range in between this 400 and 200 that we anticipate to be the movement that would happen in Nifty on Monday. Now, what I do once I finish with this daily candle is I get onto a multi-time frame, and for intraday I use an hourly chart to give me a bias on the trend, right? So looking at the hourly chart clearly shows me that again it's bullish, but it's not as bullish as you could get to see it in the daily chart. Here you would see it as moderately bullish because there is not too much of momentum that's been seen. And also looking at the volatility index, the volatility is somewhere between 12, 13. So I don't expect too much of a movement to happen on a single direction, right? But still, nevertheless, I see it as moderately bullish. So if you look at I mean, before I proceed further on this technical analysis, now if you look at the news that's floating around in Karnataka, especially on these elections, so BJP have been lost and India Congress has won these elections, but at the same time, looking at the sentiments in the market from the past few days, I think this is well anticipated by the market participants, and I don't think so. There should be a huge uh, crash or a movement that would happen in this market on either sides. So I believe it's going to be consolidated between 18,200 and 18,400, if not anything more than that, especially for tomorrow's range. But for weekly range, we can also look back at the options data and get a fair amount of understanding of how the options contracts have been written at what strike levels based upon the market participants' sentiments. All right. So on a 1 hour chart, it clearly gives me an indication of moderately bullish. Now I'd look at an intermediate chart, which is a typical time frame which I look upon to trade my entries and exits, not entries exactly, but the exits that I typically do on a 15-minute chart. So this is a driving chart for me. Now this again has a very strong resistance. Multiple times 18,350 has been seen to have been tested. I know we have a resistance at 18,400, but 18,300 has been a point where there has been at least three times there has been some amount of selling that's been absorbed. All right, so we'll have to wait and watch. Now, if you look at the weekly VWAP, it's at 18,300. So 18,300 is definitely going to be a very key level. Now, if it breaks down, it falls down to 18,200. But if it holds back, then probably we can anticipate this to be taken forward up to 18,400 in the next day or two. All right, so definitely for tomorrow, 18,300 is going to be a key level, which needs to be observed. Now, quickly, let's look at the options data of Nifty. Yeah. Looking at the options data of Nifty, we'll look at the total contracts that we have today, based upon the contracts that's been built up on Friday. So the total put side has 8 lakh contracts, and then you have 10 lakh contracts on the call side. So calls are definitely heavy on, um, you know. Definitely, there has been a heavier option writing in the call side. Now, if you look at the OI change that's happened on Friday, it's not significant. if you look at the numbers, they both look very similar to me. So it's more of a straddle which has helped people gain in the money on Friday. Otherwise, I think I'll have to keep a watch to understand what's the level. Now, if you look at these levels, 18,300 definitely has been a level which has been paid off very well. The people, those who have put in a straddle with a good amount of volumes, should have made significant amount of money. That's for sure. Now, if you look at the weekly range definitely looks to be between 18,400 and then 18,200 at this point of time, but I believe that it could be even slipped down to 18,100. Right, so 18,100 and 18,400, very much matching with the technical analysis that we got to see in the charts, is what I get to observe here. All right, so that's on Nifty. Let's quickly move on to the Bank Nifty and try to see what do we have on the Bank Nifty. Now, looking at Bank Nifty again, we'll move to the daily chart to understand how the daily candle was shaped up on Friday. So on Friday, it's a very good bullish candle. It's a bullish engulfing candle that we observed on Friday, and it has also closed above the previous day's high. So I have a very strong conviction that Bank Nifty would at least move ahead by another 200 to 500 points before it starts, hitting the all-time high, and then people start making the profit booking at that levels. Otherwise, I'm very optimistic on Bank Nifty to be trending upwards, and then see the levels of 44,100 or 200, which has been the previous time high. And it's definitely been seen, I mean, it has been in the bullish run for quite some time, for almost a month's time, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, more than a month and a week that Bank Nifty has been trailing upwards in the bullish momentum. Looking at the intraday time frame again, yeah, it's again significantly bullish in comparison to Nifty. So if I have to play directional, I would definitely look upon Bank Nifty to play directional trading, and if I had to do non-directional, then I would be doing it on Nifty on Monday. Also looking at the pivots, we'll quickly look at pivots, how they're shaping up in the relationship. So now if you look at the pivots for the next day, I think for the developing pivot for the next day is definitely bullish. Bank Nifty doesn't have a very wide CPR, so I expect this to be a moderately bullish. As we anticipated, Bank Nifty can definitely move ahead by another 300 to 500 points on Monday. That's how I see it. If I had to, as I mentioned earlier, if I had to play directional, then I would be playing in the Bank Nifty then. Yeah. So let's look at the options data on the Bank Nifty and see how it is been written. If you look at the total number of contracts, it's almost like 9 lakhs and 9 lakhs. So there's not much of a difference. Again, here, both the buyers and sellers have written equal amount of contracts. But if you look at the change in OI that's happened on Friday, so there has been at least 2 lakh contracts which have been at least 2 lakh contracts which have been put on the put side in comparison to the call side, right? And again, at the weekly levels, if you look at it, it's 44,000 and 43,000. So there's 1,000 points level that can be observed on Bank Nifty. Otherwise, you get to see 43,500 having in the more number of contracts on the put side, and likewise 44,000 seems to have 43.8 and 44,000 seems to have more number of contracts on the call side, right? So as we also observed in the technical analysis on the chart, 43,500 is going to be a strong support, and we believe that it can move upwards by 300 to 500 points, and we will have to wait and watch at 43,800 and 44,000 to see the behavior of the price action at that particular level, and whether this option contracts get winded up, or we get to see more option contracts getting added up on the put side, and then unwinding happening on the call side. So this two levels are going to be stood as very significant points for us on the Bank Nifty. Now again, moving quickly on the Finnifty. Finnifty, if you look at the daily chart, Finnifty would resemble very much similar to what Bank Nifty would do, but sometimes it also would have a little amount of deviation, because this is more to do with the finance markets and not exactly the banking. So Finnifty again has a very strong bullish candle that's been seen on Friday. There has been a lot of buying that happened from the low level, that's the support level on the pivot, and then you could see that it has almost closed the previous day high. So Finnifty is again at an interesting level of 19,500, which has been the all-time high in the previous days. So we'll have to wait and watch what happens at this level. If I had to trade in Finnifty on Monday, again, this indice is something that expires on Friday. So that's on 16th of May. If I have to do a delta neutral strategy, or even I have to do a bull spread or a bear spread, selling in the options and trying to also capture theta, then I think Fin Nifty is the instrument I'd be looking upon on Monday. Now, 19,500 is a level which I'll be watchful. I'll watch this for at least 15 to 20 minutes before I start putting in the positions across, um, be it a straddle or a strangle. Now, if 500 aggressively gets sold out, I'll be playing in the strangles, but a little delta heavy or diagonal optional strategy has been put across on the call, and a lighter option contract's been put across the put. But otherwise, if it's gonna take some good support at the level of the closing at 500, and if it heads towards 550, then probably I'll be playing in the straddles at the three levels. I mean the three strikes at 19,500, 450, as well as 550, and then see how it shapes up over a period of time. And if I'm doing the straddle, I'd be closing in my positions by 1:30 p.m. in the afternoon, right? So that's my plan of action now for Fin Nifty. Now, Fin Nifty definitely has a very strong bearish candle. Now, if you look at the trend of Fin Nifty again on an hourly trend is moderately bullish. So as we anticipated, it may probably test 19,550, uh, or it may start falling down to 19,300, 350, 400 levels, right? Okay, now let's quickly look at the pivots. So looking at the pivots, I definitely see this to be a little wider than what it was for yesterday. And there has been a lot of movement also that's happened. I think it's from 332 up to 566, which is like a good 300, 200 and odd points, which has been moved on the previous day, that's on Friday. So I believe this is going to be trailing between these levels, within these levels, and predominantly hovering across 19,500. So I would have a strong bet upon Fin Nifty for 19,500. Let's also look at the options data. Looking at the options data, again, the monthly, okay, the current resistance is at 500 and then the support is at 400. So if you look at the options contracts, there are almost like, you know, the options contract are definitely higher on the call side than on the put side. So you see 5 lakh contracts and 3.5 lakh of contracts here. But if you look at the buildup that's happened over on the Friday, it's very much 215 and 180. That's not too big of a change to happen. So 19,300 and 19,600 is going to be the range for the next 2 days, is what I anticipate. But tomorrow I am more likely to see the price action to happen between 500 and I would say 550 and 450, right? So to be on yep, between 400 and 600. Yep. So this weekly expiry, I anticipate it to be somewhere between 19,400 and 19,600. It looks to be a little bearish, but you never know. The opening print can define, whether your analysis is going to be accepted or uh, not accepted on the next day. So that's an important point to be always kept on the back of the mind, that you shouldn't be just going with the analysis that you do today, a previous day, but you should also look at the opening print and then make the call whether the analysis that you did on the day yesterday, does it still hold true, or there has been a change in sentiment or a change in the action based upon the opening print. So let's see how the things would shape up. But I have my inclination towards Fin Nifty, and then probably I'd be looking at Fin Nifty to be traded for tomorrow. And I would have the triangles being put across from 1400, 19,400 and 19,600. Thank you all.